cops just magically appeared on my doorstep. I've been better.
You mind if we come inside?
I don't have any drugs.
The dog's not trained to detect drugs. The dog's trained to detect money.
Matt Damon just said something that's making Hollywood very uncomfortable. The Rip is currently the #1 movie on Netflix worldwide, 41.6 million views in its first week. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck reuniting on screen. Should be a massive win for Netflix, right? Except Damon just went on record saying Netflix forced them to dumb down the script. Not suggested, not recommended, forced. And his exact words?
Netflix, the standard way to make an action movie that we learned was, you usually have like 3 set pieces, one in the first act, one in the second, one in the third, and they kind of ramp up in the big one with all the explosions, and you spend most of your money on that one in the third act. That's your kind of finale. And now they're like, can we get a big one in the first 5 minutes to get somebody? We want people to stay tuned in, and it wouldn't be terrible if you reiterated the plot 3 or 4 times in the dialogue because people are on their phones while they're watching. You know what I mean?
Oh, no.
And so then it's going to really start to infringe on
creatively.
How we're telling it.
People are on their phones while they're watching. Let that sink in for a second. Before we get into the controversy, and trust me, we're getting into it, let's talk about the Rip itself, because it's actually a pretty decent film considering what it could have been.
What we do right now and who we talk to matters. Tell me what's fucking going on. You think I want to jack this Rip? I don't trust you right now, and that's a fucking problem.
The movie follows 2 estranged brothers, played by Damon and Affleck, who are both crime scene cleaners. They get pulled into a conspiracy when they discover something they shouldn't have at a crime scene, and suddenly they're being hunted by people who want them dead. It's a thriller. Good twists, solid pacing, excellent acting. And honestly, who doesn't enjoy seeing Damon and Affleck on screen together? There's a chemistry there that you can't fake. These guys have known each other since they were kids, wrote Good Will Hunting together, won an Oscar together. That history shows up in every scene. I'll be honest, I enjoyed it. It's not revolutionary cinema, but it's competent, engaging, and worth the watch. The action scenes are well choreographed, the mystery keeps you guessing, and both leads are doing actual work here. But here's where it gets interesting. While I was watching, I noticed something. Every major plot point is explained at least twice, sometimes 3 times. Characters will discover something, talk about what it means. Then later another character will explain the same thing again, just in case you missed it the first 2 times.
That's a $20 million Rip. You want to steal this Rip? Just say it out loud. You think I want to jack this Rip? You gotta move this money, man.
Yeah, cops playing robber.
They just gonna take the money?
It'd be so much easier if we just stole this money.
At first, I thought it was just clunky writing, but then I read Damon's interview, and suddenly it all made sense. So here's what Damon revealed. Netflix has a formula now, a set of rules that they apply to almost every movie they produce. And these rules aren't about making better movies. They're about keeping you from scrolling to something else. Rule number 1, big action sequence in the first 5 minutes. Doesn't matter if it makes narrative sense. Doesn't matter if it fits the tone. You need a hook immediately because Netflix's data shows people decide in the first few minutes whether to keep watching. Rule number 2, repeat the plot 3 or 4 times throughout the dialogue. Why? Because their analytics show that people are watching on their phones, half distracted, scrolling through Instagram or answering texts. So you can't assume they caught it the first time. And here's the part that really got to me. Damon said this isn't a suggestion, it's a requirement. If you want Netflix to fund your movie, you follow their formula. They've got the data, they've got the algorithm, and the algorithm says this is what works. Now I need to confess something. I'm part of the problem. I do this. I watch Netflix on my phone sometimes. If a movie gets a little slow, if I'm not immediately hooked, I'll start scrolling, checking Twitter, replying to messages, and then 10 minutes later, I'll realize I have no idea what just happened in the plot. My girlfriend does this constantly. We'll be watching something together, and halfway through, she'll ask, "Wait, who's that guy?" And I'm like, "That's the main character's brother. They explained that 15 minutes ago when you were on Instagram." So I get it. I understand why Netflix thinks they need to repeat everything, because we're not paying attention. But here's the thing that Damon is pointing out. By designing movies for distracted viewers, Netflix is making movies more boring, which makes us more distracted, which makes them dumb down the movies even more. It's a death spiral, and we're all trapped in it. This isn't just about the Rip. This is about what streaming has done to filmmaking as a whole. Look at Netflix's track record. They release hundreds of movies every year. And how many of them are genuinely great? How many do you remember a month later? Take 365 days. Massive hit on Netflix. 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. 0. It's not just bad, it's exploitative garbage. But Netflix doesn't care because people watched it. The algorithm says it worked. Or The Deliverance from 2024. Stars Glenn Close and Andra Day. both Oscar-nominated actors. The movie is so incompetent that critics called it unwatchable, but it was in Netflix's top 10 for weeks because they marketed it heavily and people clicked. The Electric State just came out this month. $320 million budget. Millie Bobby Brown, Chris Pratt, directed by the Russo brothers. And critics are calling it dumb and garish. But it'll be a success for Netflix because enough people will watch 10 minutes of it before giving up. And you know what all these movies have in common? They're designed by committee. They're engineered to satisfy an algorithm instead of telling a good story. Meanwhile, filmmakers like Christopher Nolan refuse to work with Netflix. James Cameron recently called Netflix fundamentally rotten.
Mentioned that Netflix shouldn't be eligible to run for the Oscars.
And they're not wrong, because here's what Netflix has figured out. They don't need to make good movies. They just need to make movies that people will click on and watch for at least 10 minutes. That's the metric. That's what they optimize for. And the result? A steady stream of mediocre, forgettable content that treats audiences like we have the attention span of goldfish. But here's where I think Damon is absolutely right. If you make something interesting, people won't scroll. I've never once pulled out my phone during a really great movie. Not during The Shawshank Redemption, not during Good Will Hunting, not during The Dark Knight, because those movies demand your attention. They earn it. The problem isn't that audiences are distracted. The problem is that Netflix is making distracted content and then blaming us for not paying attention. Now, to be fair to Netflix, and I know I've been roasting them pretty hard, they did do something right with The Rip. After the movie wrapped, Netflix paid out bonuses to all 1,200 crew members who worked on it. That's not standard practice in Hollywood. Most streaming services don't do that. But Netflix honored their deal and made sure the people who actually made the movie got compensated fairly. So they're not entirely villainous. They treat their workers better than most studios. But paying your crew well doesn't excuse making worse movies on purpose. So where does that leave us? I think Matt Damon is right. Netflix is ruining movies with this approach. But I also think we're complicit. Every time we watch something with one eye on our phone, we're telling Netflix that their formula works. We're teaching the algorithm to make worse content. And I say this as someone who's guilty of it. I've watched entire movies and couldn't tell you the plot because I was scrolling the whole time. Then I get frustrated because nothing's happening in the movie, when really, I'm just not watching. It's like that scene in The Rip where the brothers are trying to figure out who's hunting them. And one of them says something like, "We keep looking for answers out there, but maybe the problem is us." Yeah, maybe the problem is us. Netflix has the data. They know we're distracted. So they optimize for distraction. And the more they optimize for distraction, the more distracted we become. It's a feedback loop that's destroying cinema. But, and here's the hopeful part, it doesn't have to be this way. Netflix can make great movies when they want to. Look at Adolescence, which just came out. It's a small, intimate coming-of-age story. No explosions in the first 5 minutes, no repetitive dialogue explaining the plot 4 times, just good storytelling, and people are loving it. Or look at The Brutalist, which is getting Oscar buzz right now. It's 3.5 hours long, it's slow, it's challenging, and it's one of the best films of the year. Because it trusts the audience to pay attention. So the solution isn't complicated. Netflix needs to stop designing movies for people who aren't watching. And we need to actually watch the movies we're watching. Put your phone down, give the movie your full attention. And if it's boring, don't half-watch it while scrolling. Just turn it off and watch something else. Because here's the truth, we're not going to get better movies until we demand better movies. And we can't demand better movies if we're not even watching them. Matt Damon is right to call this out. He's right to be frustrated. Good Will Hunting wouldn't exist under Netflix's current formula. They would have made him add explosions and repeat the plot 6 times. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you sit down to watch something on Netflix, try actually watching it. No phone, no distractions, just you and the movie. And if it's boring, that's Netflix's fault for making boring content. But if it's good, that's proof that cinema still works when we let it. Drop a comment and tell me, are you guilty of phone watching like I am? Do you think Damon's right? Or is Netflix just adapting to reality? Because I genuinely want to know. Are we destroying cinema with our phones? Or is Netflix destroying cinema by assuming we'll never put them down? All right, that's it. Subscribe if you want more honest takes where I don't let anyone off the hook, including myself. See you in the next one.